This is you, El Mencho. You have over 200 billion pesos invested in luxury homes, high-end cars, and properties spread across all of Mexico. The DEA is offering $10 million for information leading to your capture, a figure that would change anyone's life, and yet nobody has cashed that check. You wake up every morning in a residence valued at over $500,000 somewhere in Jalisco that authorities haven't been able to pinpoint despite years of investigation. Your real name is Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, but that name doesn't appear on any of your properties. To the world, you're El Mencho, the Lord of the Roosters, the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. 4 words that show up in police files across 5 continents. And while you process these numbers that sound like something out of a movie, there's something you need to understand from the start. What we're going to explore today is not a celebration of this world. It's a documented analysis of how organized crime operates at levels most people have no idea about, and of the consequences this lifestyle inevitably brings with it. Let's start with the most visible part, your garage. Or rather your private automobile museum that would put any legitimate collector to shame. According to official records from Mexico's Attorney General's office, among the seized vehicles was a Lamborghini Aventador, equipped with a 6.5-liter V12 engine, capable of producing 759 horsepower. This is the kind of machine that goes from 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 3 seconds. The price of this vehicle on the American market exceeds $503,000. To put that in perspective, that's roughly what a middle-class Mexican family earns in about 25 years of work. You had it parked next to 24 other luxury vehicles, like it was just another car in the bunch. Next to the Lamborghini, agents documented an Aston Martin Vantage, twin-turbo V8 engine, 503 horsepower. The kind of car James Bond drives in the movies, except yours wasn't a Hollywood prop. Starting price, $153,000. There was also a Jaguar F-Type convertible, valued at $102,000. This isn't a car for getting around. It's a car for enjoying the ride. The kind of experience most people only know through video games. Hit that like button if you didn't expect a single raid to uncover a collection of this caliber. Your garage also contained some American practicality. Ford Raptors, those high-performance trucks designed to dominate terrain that would destroy any conventional vehicle. The same ones that appeared in videos circulating online, forming convoys that authorities described as shows of force. Lincoln Navigators with interiors so spacious they function as mobile offices. High-performance Audis with price tags exceeding 1 million Mexican pesos. And, because no collection is complete without a 2-wheeled jewel, agents found a BMW 4-race motorcycle. This isn't just any bike. It's a limited production machine with only 750 units manufactured worldwide. It was technically designed exclusively for professional racetracks. Its starting price is $78,000, more expensive than a lot of apartments in mid-size Mexican cities. In total, when authorities carried out the searches following the arrest of Rosalinda González Valencia, your wife, known as La Negra, 25 luxury automobiles were seized. And this, according to the investigators themselves, represented only a fraction of the vehicles you're estimated to own through frontmen and shell companies. But the cars are just the tip of the iceberg. Let's talk about where you live. The main identified residence is located in the Loma Blanca neighborhood of Zapopan, less than an hour from downtown Guadalajara. According to the appraisals, this mansion was built with materials most Mexicans only see in architecture magazines: imported Canadian wood, Italian marble, top-grade granite. The estimated value exceeds $500,000. $500,000 in a single house that wasn't even in your name. In the exclusive Puerta de Hierro area, there's an apartment in Torre Aura, valued at close to $1 million. Panoramic city views, luxury finishes, 24-hour private security. The kind of place where neighbors prefer not to ask questions about how their fellow residents generate their income. Court documents reveal luxurious cabins built along the Mexican Pacific Lagoon, an exclusive hotel in La Cruz de Loreto, internationally recognized among clientele who valued discretion. In total, the Deputy Attorney General's office documented 34 properties directly linked to you or to close members of your organization. The combined value amounts to 91.5 million pesos, a real estate portfolio that would rival that of any legitimate mid-sized developer in Mexico. Tell me in the comments if you already knew the scale of these seized properties. Now comes the part that fascinates financial crime investigators, because accumulating illicit wealth is relatively easy when you control an operation of this size. The real challenge is making that money look legitimate. According to court files, there are over 100 restaurants specializing in Japanese food that authorities consider part of the money laundering network. Sushi, ramen, tempura served in establishments spread across the entire country, generating invoices, paying taxes, employing waiters and cooks who probably have no idea who the real owner of the business they work at is. Investigations also identified entire shopping centers, print media outlets, real estate companies that built housing developments and sold homes to middle-class families, and of course, your own tequila brand. Blue agave, grown on Jalisco land, distilled according to the region's traditions, a perfectly legal product that generates perfectly legal invoices. Reports mention seized gold bars. Gold works as the perfect store of value for those who can't use the banking system. It doesn't earn interest, but it doesn't leave an electronic trail either. It's the emergency savings of people who live knowing that any day they might have to disappear. And then there are the exotic animals. On one of the ranches linked to your organization, authorities documented a Bengal tiger and endangered bird species. When you have more money than you can spend, the next step is to own what nobody else can have. Animals that ordinary people only see in zoos. Species whose possession is prohibited precisely because they're disappearing from the planet. The tiger roaming your private garden isn't just a pet. It's a symbol that the rules that apply to everyone else don't apply to you. The DEA estimates your personal fortune exceeds $1 billion. To put that number in perspective, consider that with that money, you could buy the most valuable soccer team in Liga MX and still have enough left over to acquire several more. You could fund college education for hundreds of thousands of young Mexicans. Instead, that money exists fragmented across bank accounts and tax havens, converted into gold buried in locations only you know. Kyle Moore, the DEA agent who has led the investigation for 8 years, has stated that the real figure could be even higher. 8 years. This man has dedicated nearly a decade exclusively to trying to capture you. He's watched entire presidential administrations come and go in both countries, and you're still free. Mexico's Attorney General's office reports having seized approximately 160 million pesos in assets linked to you, equivalent to about $10 million. This sum includes bank accounts, jewelry, watercraft, real estate, and exotic animals. $10 million sounds like an enormous amount, until you remember it's exactly the same figure they're offering for your capture. What the government has taken from you in years of investigation is the same amount they'd pay to catch you. Intelligence reports indicate confirmed presence of your organization in Central America, South America, Europe, and Asia. We're not talking about occasional contacts. We're talking about permanent operations with dedicated personnel, established routes, and local partners in every region. This international expansion turns any capture effort into a logistical nightmare. Your main territory has always been Jalisco, but Jalisco isn't just a dot on the map. The mountains of western Mexico offer rugged terrain that makes operations difficult. Multiple escape routes, rural communities where the state's presence has historically been weak, and where certain organizations have filled that void by providing services the government doesn't offer. This last point explains why nobody has collected that $10 million reward. Sociologists who study organized crime have documented a phenomenon they call asymmetric reciprocity. In marginalized regions, criminal organizations sometimes provide material benefits to communities: paved roads, clinics, financial support. This doesn't make anyone a hero, and it doesn't justify anything, but it explains why loyalty, or at least silence, can be bought in ways that go beyond simple fear. If you're watching this from Jalisco, tell us in the comments your perspective on this reality that many people in other parts of the country are unaware of. Reports about your health have been contradictory. Serious medical problems have been reported: possible kidney disease, complications from old wounds. Rumors of your death have circulated on multiple occasions. However, authorities continue to operate under the assumption that you're still active. The clearest proof is that the reward is still standing. Governments don't maintain rewards for people they know are dead. The arrest of Rosalinda González Valencia in 2018 represented one of the most significant breakthroughs. Her arrest made it possible to carry out the searches that revealed the magnitude of the accumulated assets. However, analysts point out something uncomfortable. The capture of family members rarely results in the dismantling of structures at this level. They're designed to withstand these blows. Compartmentalization protocols ensure that no single person has enough information to compromise the entire operation. And here we arrive at the question you've probably been asking yourself since the beginning. If the authorities know so much, if they've documented properties, vehicles, shell companies, operational structure, why haven't they achieved a definitive capture? The answer reveals the fundamental limitations of how organized crime is fought. First, the jurisdictional problem. Operations span multiple countries with different legal systems and levels of cooperation. Coordinating an international operation is a bureaucratic nightmare that the organization's lawyers know how to exploit. Second, the intelligence problem. Knowing that someone is somewhere in the mountains of Jalisco is very different from knowing exactly which house at exactly what moment. Information has an expiration date. By the time an operation is executed, the target may have changed locations 3 times. Third, corruption. Case files have documented how these organizations compromise officials at every level. Not occasional bribes, but a systematic strategy that turns the very security agencies into intelligence sources for the people they're supposed to be pursuing. This is the central paradox of your story. You possess wealth most people can't imagine, but you can't openly enjoy it. You have power over thousands of people, but you live in hiding, in locations you constantly change. You've built an empire that generates billions of dollars, but you can't walk into a bank, eat at a public restaurant, or stroll through a shopping mall without becoming a target. Your daily life probably consists of routines designed for survival rather than enjoyment. Locations that change regularly. Limited and encrypted communications. An inner circle that keeps getting smaller because every person who knows too much represents a $10 million betrayal risk. Constant surveillance for threats that can come from both authorities and rivals. The insomnia that comes with knowing any night could be the last. It's not the movie life some people imagine. It's an existence of permanent tension disguised as superficial luxury. If you also thought this level of extravagance was cinematic exaggeration, let me know in the comments. Experts point to a recurring pattern. Longevity in this world is extremely rare. Most end up facing one of 3 fates: capture, which means decades in maximum security, prisons; betrayal by someone close who decides that $10 million is worth more than any loyalty; or the final confrontation. Seized assets are eventually auctioned off or turned over to the government. The Lamborghinis that once cruised through Zapopan are now part of government inventories. The properties are transferred to public institutions. The jewelry sits in judicial vaults for years. It's the ironic fate of illicit extravagance, becoming bureaucratic assets. But while this happens, while officials pose for photos next to the confiscated cars, new properties are being acquired under new names. New vehicles are purchased through new shell companies. New sushi restaurants open their doors. The machine keeps running because the resources feeding it keep flowing, and because the conditions that created it remain fundamentally unchanged. For those of us living in Mexico, these cases serve as a reminder of the structural challenges the country faces, the inequalities that make risk seem acceptable when weighed against permanent poverty, the institutions that have failed to provide security or opportunity, a border shared with the largest consumer market in the world, and a history of policies that have prioritized headline-grabbing captures over deep structural transformation. The story continues to unfold. Investigations remain active. Every seizure, every arrest represents an incremental step forward. Maybe someday they'll collect the results of all that work. Or maybe this will be another case of someone who managed to evade justice until the very end. What is certain is that as long as the conditions we mentioned exist, there will be others willing to take the place of whoever falls. Others who will look at the confiscated Lamborghinis on TV and see not a warning, but a distorted inspiration. The problem is bigger than any single individual, and the solutions will require more than police operations, no matter how spectacular they may be. This is the reality documented in court files and intelligence reports from both sides of the border. It's not fiction. It's the record of how an international criminal organization operates in the 21st century. And it's an uncomfortable mirror that reflects both the failures of the system and the individual choices that perpetuate this cycle. If you made it this far, you now have a more complete perspective on how these structures work. You won't find this kind of analysis in the shallow headlines of the evening news. If you want to keep learning about topics that require depth and context, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss the next video.